have to stop the show short. I feel like we got a second. We good though, we good. What's up, y'all? We back. You know what's crazy? I'm moderator, and I be forgetting how many episodes we be having.
I think this is 6.
I'm gonna say 6. I'm
like
confident.
But this is gonna be our bestest one.
6.
Yeah, bestest.
Happy Easter Sunday, y'all. You know.
Oh. Isn't that when God risen, or what? Something like that.
Not when God risen. We'll talk about
me
that
growing
later.
up. That was when you dress all fancy.
Someone was risen. So it wasn't God, but it was close.
Was it Easter Bunny?
Close.
Sure, it wasn't the Easter Bunny. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like since it's Easter Sunday, we should just like start with that. Like, are you guys feeling blessed? What are you guys feeling blessed for? I feel like we should start on like that humble,
positive note.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you guys feeling like, what are you guys feeling blessed for right now? Like,
I feel blessed. I got stopped by the cops twice and I didn't get no tickets.
wow.
Blessed.
That's honestly a blessing.
Look at God.
What about you?
That I'm able to even be here right now to talk, to be honest. After the past couple of weeks, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks, especially in the media. Even today. We'll get to that
Rest
in
in
a
peace,
second.
Nip.
What about you,
Live, healthy, so yeah.
Word.
What's up? Dede via FaceTime.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
And that's Lord yesterday. He ain't feeling too blessed.
He said, "Where is God?" That's Lord's judge is injured. Where's God at?
I don't want to like talk about all that. That's old news now. No, I guess you know, just to be a year older. You know, my birthday was last week, so just to be a year older.
Another year of life. I feel you with that. You know what's like crazy that like a lot of people talk about sometimes, especially around Easter, the fact that like this is the one of maybe 2 or 3 times that people go to church throughout the year.
No, I'm sorry. I'm listening to you.
No, it's fine. We're having this.
I guess that's true for some people.
So everything's kind of.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that everything is coming in clearly. We're trying to get all levels and everything taken care of. So.
But
Don't worry, I'm back.
a lot of people make jokes about that. They're like Easter, Christmas, and probably New Year is probably the only 3 times you will see like the church fill up more. Cause that's when people.
Who goes to church on Christmas?
Jesus Christ.
People go to church on Christmas Eve. They do.
Why? I did before. That's just because the woman who I was involved with went. So, you know, I had to show up. You can't have a great Christmas morning without a Christmas night. Anyway, I would definitely never go there by myself.
Well, I mean, the religious aspect of Christmas, bro, is I guess why people would go on Christmas Eve because it's what it's about.
Have you been to a church on New Year's? Oh God, well, I know you have. Oh God, that was a long time.
It gets real.
It's like, dang.
I didn't mind it.
And also, I want to apologize.
It wasn't really that bad because I mean I don't normally do anything for New Year's anyway, but you know, chill with my family, you know, in the house. So it wasn't really. It was pretty much the same.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I mean,
It was whatever.
because you know I enjoyed the people that was there and stuff, but
I mean, I got a different idea of what I want to do with New Year's now anyway, so I wouldn't do it again.
What do you want to do with New Year's?
Huh?
What are you doing now on New Year's other than praising the Lord and chilling with your family?
I don't think I've ever praised the Lord at the same time chilling with my family. Maybe because we come from.
Wow.
Wait, who goes to church on New Year's?
okay, you had an excuse.
I've been to church on New Year's a couple times.
Again, my question is, why?
Because they want to ring up the New Year.
Mostly because I was made to, and or the girl, again, the woman who I was involved with was probably heavily in the church, and you know.
To cute way of saying he was whipped. He had to.
Wow. Look, I handle my relationships like this. I let the woman fly the jet. I just got the master controls. When I have to take control, I take control. And excuse my voice. I lost my voice this week. It's coming back right now, so I can't really talk over and be rude as I'm always is. So, you know. Anyway.
That was a good introduction to Easter Sunday.
Okay, I don't want to dwell too much on this, but it is recent news, and I feel like we should respect the fact that it happened today.
Let's talk on it.
About what happened in Sri Lanka. Did I say that right?
The bombing or whatever?
Yeah, I thought that was really wild. I feel like it was sad. You know, you can't feel safe in a place where you should feel safest, which is where you go, you know, to praise God and all that other stuff. So I thought that was just not what I wanted to see on Easter Sunday, to be honest.
It's
But
horrible.
you don't think something like that's gonna happen when you go to church, but
No, for sure. It's a terrible story. You know, you don't think those kind of attacks are strategic in a way?
no,
I was
for
looking
real.
at the Notre Dame situation, right? I found out that they were removing historical statues a few days before that fire started. Did you see that story?
Crazy, yeah.
It's nuts,
Yeah.
right? Like, they was removing all the historical statues prior to the fire. It just makes you think, like, okay, these are devastating times, but are they planned out? Are people giving these orders to do these things, and for what gain?
I mean, I feel like
Money.
Could be that. I mean, it could be that, or it could be for money purposes, because they raised what, $330 million.
They got a lot of money. They got a lot of money donated to them.
It's crazy.
A lot.
It's nuts. Meanwhile, I mean, I'm gonna repeat myself. I'm sure social media beat this into the ground, but you have places like Flint, Michigan, and other black churches that have either got burnt down, shot up, and need renovation, and have gotten nothing from the government. Nothing. You know, and we even have our own. There was a president of a South African country who donated $2 million. You could have gave that money to your own people that are here, but you decided to give it to Notre Dame. For me, it's all about political gain at this day and age. I think philanthropy is a business as well. You know, like people giving money. I've never been a big fan of people just giving money. I like to know people's intentions and to see them stay consistent. You know what I mean? But
I mean, like with situations and that happen like today, it's mainly people who just plot on other people when they're the weakest. Like people are more vulnerable, I should say. Like people are definitely more vulnerable, especially today and being in that place that they were. You know, it's all about, you know, them just feeling peaceful and, you know, feeling safe. And then there's people out there who take advantage of that. Especially today, with it being Easter, Resurrection Sunday, as they call it. So, I mean, it's rough. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I feel like it's to be spoken of because you can't just ignore it. You know, people lost family members, people lost like that. So
yeah, it's tragic. So I mean, what do you guys think of men giving women the keys to govern and not and you want me to repeat it or break it down?
Wow.
No, I'm just asking. Like, I don't want to confuse y'all. Like, this is important. I really want to know if it's important for us to allow women to govern now, and us men taking a back seat and allowing women a chance to kind of rule this world and seeing and touch the next generation. I think that's needed.
I think it's necessary. I just think it's so sad that, you know, we have to question it, you know. It kind of just shows how much they may be afraid of change, because it'll be a major change in who's in power. So it's just like, I just find it sad that we have to question it to begin with, you know, because the stereotypes are there, of course. And, I mean, situations happen with men in power now that makes you question even those stereotypes have power. Like, stereotypes of like, oh, they're women, they're emotional, and, you know, they'll make decisions. And it's like, if you really, let's speak historically for a second. And honestly, let's be honest. When men make decisions out of spite or on the heat of the second, well, that's how they make decisions, I'm going to say.
Very egotistical.
It just happens. Like, if something happens, they're just right on it. Like, they're ready to hit that button. But I feel like women are a little different. And I ain't gonna lie, we're a little petty. And that's what kind of goes into it, too. We take our time. And I feel like that balance is needed. You know, it's all about, I feel like that's the thing I always talk about, like balance. You know, like, you can't have just one-sided thoughts on everything, on decisions with people in power. It's like you need different minds. And I feel like men are scared of that. Men in power, at least, are scared of that. So, yeah.
That's a good way. That's a good way to separate it. Men in power.
I disagree.
When we say men, we're not talking men in general. But let's get that in there.
He was so quick. He was like, I disagree.
I
disagree. I don't think men should let women do anything. You want to know why? Because it is not a man's place to let a woman do anything.
No, I know,
she
I know
is her
that.
own person. I get what you were saying, but I don't think it's up to the world leaders who are men to be like, all right, now I'm gonna let you do. She should be allowed to do it anyway, regardless of who, what, or where you are. You know what I mean? So it's like, you didn't need great women leaders, female leaders, to step into those roles. That's really all it comes down to. I mean, you see the freshman class of what we have like in Congress today. They got into those spots because for years it was just God running unopposed. And so they said, oh, I'm going to do it. If he's going to run unopposed, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And if that's the case, then I'm going to take over and run my district the way I see fit. And most of them won. Not all of them won, but most of them won. And look at all the noise they're making now. They didn't let anyone sort of allow them to do it. You just have to empower them to know that they can do it if they wanted to do it. You know, it's all about opportunity at the end of the day. If the people.
Yeah, sorry. My bad. Continue.
No, I was gonna say if somebody doesn't feel like they have the opportunity or the space to do something, they're not gonna do it. But in certain climates, you know, you just feel like you're empowered to do stuff, and you move forward and you sort of do it.
I feel like that's kind of what we were trying to say. Maybe that didn't come across very well. But it wasn't more so of just like, it's like a teacher giving a kid a pass to the bathroom. Like, okay, here you go. Let me see what you could do with it. It's like you said, opportunity. And let's not lie and pretend like, you know, opportunity isn't equally given when it comes to women. You know, you can have a man and a woman, same age, same education, same background, come and try to do the same job. But of course, you know, the man is gonna have the upper hand because he is one. So I feel like that's just the main word for everything. It's just equal opportunity, you know, and not letting there be some type of toxic interference with like people just trying to keep women at a certain level because they don't want them to overpower or have more power than them. It's like Dwayne said, it can become ego at the end. So much ego when it comes to power, you know. So I feel like opportunity is one of the biggest things. But
I mean, it's all opportunity, you know. Again, all anybody ever wants is to be able to get the same thing as the person next to me with no blockage because of other exterior motivations. I want to be able to make the same money as the guy in my job because I'm equally as smart and I went through an equally rigorous education. I don't want to make less money than him because I am a woman. You know what I mean? Or I don't want to make less money than them because I am of color. Or I can't get the job because I'm of color, even though I'm equally as qualified. It's all about opportunity. At the end of the day, when you open the doors for people to do that, it happens. It's funny. I was just thinking, we're sort of taught this from a young age. This notion that we have to be told we can do something before we actually do that specific thing. It's like think back to when you're in like elementary school and you ask your teacher, "Can I go to the bathroom?" Right? And then they say, "Well, you can," but they say, "Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought." They say you're supposed to ask, "May I go to the bathroom?" You know what I mean? Because it's sort of a permission thing. like they're the gatekeepers of what you sort of can do. You know what I mean? And it doesn't seem like much, but it is a very, very tiny thing that is beaten into you throughout the years that sort of just sticks with you. You know, this permission based movement where it's like I gotta ask someone if I can do this before I actually do it. And sometimes that's not necessarily the case. You just need to be in a space where it allows you first and foremost to do things open and freely.
I think that's where the perspective I was coming from was. I think the spaces that are given to women are very few and far in between. One, and the space that they're given, I don't think they, up until this generation, it wasn't really given the opportunity to make a strong impact, an impact that I feel they deserve. I think it is a permission thing, unfortunately, with the country that we live in, because no minority group has been able to just do whatever they want without a white man stepping to the side and allowing us to do it, unfortunately. I mean, no one has come in and just did whatever they wanted to do without the assistance of the white demographic. You know, even with our civil rights movement, we still had, you know, alignment with the white demographic. We had white allies in that movement. Every movement that we've had, we've needed the assistance of the power to allow us to do it. I mean, it sounds great that we shouldn't have to ask permission, but unfortunately in the society that we live in, we do. And I think that's why I feel women, like you said, bro, given the opportunity, I think that's going to change at some point in a few generations. I think maybe in the next couple, we're going to start seeing people not having to ask permission, but just having the free right to do what they want. But it starts somewhere, and it starts with somebody that's in the front of the line stepping aside and saying, you know what, get ahead in front of me. It just takes just that for someone to just say, go ahead in front of me. And hopefully the person that comes in is the person that really helps spark that change. But I don't think we're in a world right now or a society where women can just do what they want and implement the structure that needs to be implemented. I don't think we're at that point yet. I think we can be, but I don't think
on what level? Because in some aspects,
on all levels. I mean, even in politics, right? I can look at all levels, but let's just look at politics, right? They're not as respected as they should be by the people that have been there. And I'm not talking about society's views on women. I'm talking about the political powers that be. They don't value women as they should. Let's not mistake the fact that because women are in power doesn't mean that they're being respected. I think sometimes we get a little misguided in thinking, oh, this woman is in power, so there's progress, right? Even when I seen our first black president in office, that man has gotten such a slew of disrespect while in office, and he didn't do 2% of the things that Trump has done. But Trump is able to get away with it, right? So, again, I think that we can get to the point of women being able to move freely without much constraint. I don't think as a country we're there yet, and it's not just politics. It's any field of work that they're in. I don't think that their value is being appreciated enough.
But even in like it's worse in society. So if it's not even stable in everyday society, imagine trying to get there in politics where there's power, where people, you know, I feel like there's like steps that need to be made, and like we be making steps, but it's like there's no progress at all. It's like I feel like it's kind of, how can I explain, like a treadmill. It's like you're just walking in place. It's like there's just still nothing changing.
Like a hamster wheel.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing happening. So I don't know. I think whenever that change does happen, there needs to be some type of maintenance. Like it needs to progress. It can't just stay there. It's like, okay, you guys, it's like giving a crumb. It's like, okay, you guys got this. Stop asking for so much. No, I want it to get to where it needs to be and grow.
Whoa. You really think? I agree with everything you're saying. You really think they're just gonna just let the control of the wheel go?
Absolutely not.
Not willingly.
No.
Not willingly.
To them, this is war.
But this country wasn't built on them just giving it to us. So I don't think anything's gonna be given. Everything that this country has been up until this point has been a fight.
Everything is a fight.
It's gonna have to be.
It's gonna have to be a big revolution to take over. I didn't say that.
It's a fact, though. It's gonna happen.
Like it wasn't okay.
I didn't say that. Live on a recorded show.
This is not me. But until then, there's not gonna be any change. The only thing I can see that's gonna happen, if I can suggest, is like maybe having certain legal like parties that control. If someone gets like if it's like they go through like a hearing or whatever to prove that that person been wrongfully treated because of she's a woman or a colored person or whatever, and if we can prove that, then that person gets fired and all of that stuff like that. That'll put people on ease and give people a chance more. So
I think the fight is going to have to start in our local communities. We have to focus more locally than anything. We have to start weaponizing our communities, and I mean that figuratively. You know, we have to put people in power that have our community's best interests at heart. If we want women leadership, we have to empower the women in our communities, and it starts from the bottom. We do that, we start building a strong infrastructure locally, then we can start taking it across the state and then throughout the entire nation. You know, but it has
I
to start
disagree.
Touch on it.
All right. Back in the 1970s, the president was Jimmy Carter. And in that time, New York was not in a very good spot, if you remember. It was bankrupt. It had no money. Jimmy Carter was pretty much like, let the city burn. He didn't use those words, but literally the Bronx was burning. So let's just go on him saying, let the city burn. The reason why starting from our local communities and working our way to the top won't be as effective as people want, and this is just my opinion. My opinion alone, nobody else on the show.
Okay.
Is it goes back to the broken window theory. The broken window theory is really the start of what later became a hard war on drugs. But basically the principle was, let's start with the low guys. Let's start with the drug dealers. Because we get them off the streets, then it'll make the big guys who are really making a lot of money, the real drug kingpins, it'll make it harder for them. And that didn't work. In fact, it had the opposite effect. Because of that theory, we had a gigantic crack epidemic in the 1980s. You know what I mean? And that's because, again, you're not starting at the root of the problem. When you have a bad tree, you don't cut the whole tree. When you have bad roots in a tree, you don't cut off branches. You cut down the tree. You know what I mean?
But you cut down the tree from what?
The branches
the foundation, right?
No. The branches aren't the problem. I think local government is going to help make the government more inclusive. But the local government can do but so much if the bigger powers in power, the bigger powers that be, stop them. If the local governments in Queens want to do something, but then they don't have the budget allocated towards them, but you know who makes the budget? State government. And if state government isn't giving them the money, then they can't do what they need. You have to put people in power at the bigger positions first. Cut the head off the snake right at the beginning.
But you already have a fragile government, bro. If you place somebody in power that the people, we already have a fragile government, right? So if you place somebody at the highest position, there is no trust between us and the government at this point. You have to build the trust somewhere. What are you building your foundation on? What's your foundation if you're starting from the top?
And I agree. And see, this is the dilemma. I'm not saying I have the answer. I'm just saying this is our dilemma. The dilemma is that we can't trust our government at the top, right? So if our government at the top is not doing us right, and they're the ones making the budget, how are we even going to be able to have an opportunity to do right for ourselves if we don't have the money to do so? If Governor Cuomo, who was really upset, I'm talking about like really mad that the local powers got Amazon to pull out, so much so that he was like, well, if we're going to pull this out, then you know what, we shouldn't fund the New York film incentive that sort of goes around. He was being petty at that point. He's the one making the budget, and he's not giving money to necessary powers. The film thing, the film initiative created over 100,000 jobs and more over the years, with all the projects that were coming in, all the money that was coming into the city. The city was making so much money. And this, I'm talking about, you remember the shows that were shot here. I'm talking like Luke Cage, I'm talking Jessica Jones, all these shows that were shot here, bringing jobs and work into the city. Now, someone like that who's the governor of your, you can't get any higher than the governor of your state. You know what I mean? That is your highest state government official, the governor. If he's not making that necessary move for your community to have the money that it needs, because it's only going to trickle down, it makes no point into really trying to fix your local government, because at the end of the day, you need to cut the head off of the big one first. You need to replace the people who are really in power. I'm 100% behind local government support. Everyone should support the local government. They should know their counselors. They should know the people that are in charge. But first and foremost, they need to get control of. If they want to see people like them, they need to get control of the bigger forms of government in your state. Your state senate.
I agree. I think the pacing of it is what I feel like I disagree on. I think it's not really a sprint. It's more of a marathon. Like, we'll get to that point where we'll get to the top. But we have to first focus on our foundation. I don't know about everyone here, but I don't really feel comfortable with having stones as a roof, right? But a glass foundation, because I feel like at any point anything can happen. I don't want the house collapsing, right? And I feel like we've just been a shaky culture for so long because we haven't had that much trust in even our local government. But we need more civilians to be involved, and I feel like the best way to get them involved is to start with where they're at first. Start building their communities. And I'm talking about the black community specifically for a moment, because I feel like despite what people think, we can build a solid community that is safe, that people can come in and shop and feel like they're not in danger. I don't like this idea, this psychological idea that gentrification comes into the black community and now all of a sudden that community is safe. I don't like that notion, but I feel like even our youth kind of feels like that. You know, like, oh, there goes the neighborhood, everything is safe now, but that's not the case.
And I wouldn't say the youth feels that way. I mean, I feel like I'm still.
No, I don't mean youthful black. I mean other youths outside of the community. They feel like because that is gentrified, it's safe to go out and do whatever they want now.
One of my things I've always wanted to do is, because when people think black neighborhoods, they think of the hood. They think of the hood. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I want to start making our areas more. Just inviting, not the hood. I don't like how black people is considered the hood. You know what I'm saying? I want us to be the nice neighborhoods and all of that, and be around other black people that wants better for the people around them, and that's one of my goals in life, is to actually try to start something like that. But definitely that's what Nipsey was really trying for. He was really trying to change the whole area, and I feel like.
No, he didn't try. He did.
Well, I mean,
he did for sure.
It wasn't 100% change, but he did start the shift. But I do agree with you, Dede, about the state governors and stuff. But at some point, like, we gotta build each other up. And the only way we're gonna get what we really want is just taking it over. They're not gonna let go of the wheel.
I encourage anyone who is in a county who doesn't like the way their community is being ran, just look and find out the last time that person in your community who is in office has had someone run against them. There's a good chance that it's been a while. And you have to remember, there are no term limits on certain positions in government.
Right.
When you're in the Senate, when you're in the federal, I'm talking about like in Washington. There's no there are no term limits,
Yeah,
and I know there right. For New York State and probably for a couple of other states, I know probably in the community boards there probably are not any term limits. So people are on there for years. So look it up. See if there is someone out there who you don't like their policy, their views, the way they be running. If they're not running against them, run. Be the change. Don't say that you want to see it. Be it. Government was put there, and even though democracy isn't what we want it to be, it's always supposed to be by the people for the people. So you don't have to be a master's level degree law professor in order for you to be in government. There are normal people in government because they know their communities.
I agree. I think my views on that is kind of the same way I view cops. I think the reason why there's a miscommunication and distrust with cops is the same kind of miscommunication and distrust that we have with politicians. A lot of them don't come from our neighborhood. A lot of them come for the opportunity. I think that's why I said built from the ground up. I feel the same way about the police force. We need to have more police officers in our neighborhoods that are from our neighborhoods, that know how to speak to us, that understand our neighborhoods, so that we can eliminate some of that fear between the community and the police.
And not even just from our neighborhood. And I hate to say it because there needs to be a transition of power in generation. I don't want someone who was born in 1940 and started in government in 1970 to be policing the laws of 2019. The society is not the same.
Well, now you're talking about age, and for me that doesn't matter as long as because I'll give you an example.
It matters big.
I'll give you an example. I'll take it to something that's a little bit more relatable. Basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got younger GMs. You have the Golden State Warriors GM, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot his name, but he was a former agent. Not much experience, but he's had great success in Golden State. I still would pick Jerry West to govern a team before I pick him because of his basketball knowledge and because of his intuition, his forward thinking as far regarding the game of basketball. I don't really look at the fact that he's like 70, 80 years old. I just look at the fact that he has a mind for the game and he's successful at it. I look at the success. For me, it doesn't really matter the package. You could be 2 days away from turning into dust or as young as you want to be coming into the game, but as long as you have a heart for the people and you are effective and your agenda aligns with ours, why does it matter, I guess is the question.
Because Jerry West would be the same older generation GM that goes, the three-point shot is ruining the game.
No, he doesn't actually.
No,
that's actually wrong.
No,
that's
but
wrong.
Listen to my point. The point I am making is that older generations are less likely to adapt to a new form of being for a younger generation.
I agree with
that. If a politician is coming from the 70s, their generation did not grow up during the sexual explosion of the 70s. You know what I mean? Their generation comes from a very conservative 40s. Their generation did not grow up in the war on drugs fueled 80s. They come from, again, a very nice suburban 1950s. That's why a lot of the politicians that you see out there today are going, hey, let's make America great again, because their childhoods are from the 1950s.
But then you got people like Bernie Sanders that are speaking more directly to the struggles of African Americans in the country. And he's probably one of the oldest running candidates.
You're not saying everybody.
Right, I said everybody. I'm speaking about the idea, right? The fundamental idea of choosing someone over someone because of age and not agenda.
I agree. Bernie's just about opportunity for everybody, though.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I think if they're over a certain age, for them to stay on there, they have to be reviewed on their last like 10 judgments on things. Because there's I understand what both of y'all are saying. You can't just say someone's not qualified because of that, because it could be somebody really that can be qualified for that. But then I see what you're saying. You're saying, they grew up in times where they just won't understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I think people do evolve and change, but that's not everybody. but there should be a system where you weed them out, like a review or a board where people can vote you in and out, but not the board that their friends are on, but the actual people.
There's a system like that already exists. It's called term limits.
But does it work?
Term limits work. Term limits do work, and I think senators should not be in there for more than, you know what? If not even 8 years like a president, I'll give you 12 years. But you have senators who have been in Congress for nearly 40 years.
Yeah.
Those same senators, those people who lived and made laws during the war on drugs, when America tried to paint weed as the worst Schedule I drug that you could ever take, are the same people that are going to vote to make it federally legal now.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, but ask yourself, bro, is it age or is it just their mindset? Because again, I can pick people with the same age that don't have that same agenda or perspective. So for me, I'm not attacking. But for me, again, I'm not so much as attacking someone's age. I'm just attacking the idea of someone being old in the Senate and being looked as, I don't want to say unfit, because you're not saying unfit, but you're saying you would have eyes on someone younger. And for me, I just prefer someone being the best at what they're doing. I don't really care about their age. I would want that older person, though, to pull younger people underneath them and spread his agenda so that the people that's coming up from under are all in the line of what we're trying to do. But I don't want to discredit someone because of their age.
I would say it's both because two things. You are a product of your upbringing. The movie Us showed us that, if I'm going to make a pop culture reference. You are a product of your upbringing. And then two, it does matter, your ideals. And the reason why someone like Bernie is so open to equality for everybody is because Bernie surrounded himself with people who did not look like him, and he took the time to understand their struggle. But what we have to understand is, for the majority, they don't do that. For the majority, they never see a black person on a daily basis.
So is it an age thing again, or is it an ideology?
It's both, because it's about look, if you grew up in the 1950s, your ideals and your values are going to be different than what someone else's values are in a later generation. You know, but that's because society changes. But I'm not holding that against it. I'm not saying if you're born in the 50s, you can't, because then we go to your argument, which is their ideals can be different. You know, you can be old and have ideals that are for everybody, and I 100% agree. But they have to have been in an area that allowed them to see those different perspectives.
But I'm sorry, Marsh. Let me just throw this in there real quick about the age thing. I've seen, and I don't know if y'all have seen it, but I've been seeing a lot privileged white kids doing a lot of racist acts, whether it's blackface or singing derogatory terms. I've been seeing a lot of that in these predominantly white schools. And these are youthful kids coming into, I don't know, government, med school, things like that, like positions of true power, right? And I feel like it's not an age thing with the majority of this country. It's an ideology. So this venom is not just with the top people that came from the 40s and 60s. It's in the youth, but it's in the youth in a different way, and it comes out in a different way.
And I'm not saying that it is. If you came from that time, this is what you are. But and I'm gonna tread lightly, I guess, when saying this though. Where do you think they learned it from?
That's kind of where I was gonna get with, like, okay, this might sound a little dramatic, but I wouldn't sleep on it, because I mean, from what we've seen and what we can kind of say we've learned, like, I'm sure we all know we don't know what happens behind closed doors in any situation, right? And like Dede was saying, there's senators and people in power who have been in power for way too long, right? Even if there was someone, let's say there was a senator, was crazy, had this mindset of just against anything that benefited black people. Like, they just had this spite against people of color, period, right? But since now we're getting to an age now where, you know, well, people feel racism ain't really there, but it is. but we're getting to an age where most people aren't, against people of color. We're kind of seeing in a more liberal light.
You said people are not?
No, I'm saying most. There's people racist. We are not gonna have that conversation.
I mean, there's hidden.
Exactly.
Well,
that's what I'm talking about. That's
Trying to let them come out.
That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting to. So, it's all about a mask to me. I feel like there's people in power now who may say they feel a certain way about this. Oh, like, oh yeah, let's make this legal. Oh yeah, let's make opportunity for them. This and that. They don't really feel that way. They just want to keep their power, because they know if they don't say certain things, that it'll get taken from them because of just how people view things now, because times have changed. So I feel like that can happen, but that doesn't mean that their kids or their grandkids, they're not in their ear, like DWAYNE was saying. You have kids now who are young, who are getting to these positions of power, who have the mindset of people 50 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, just because you see somebody do something or you hear them say something doesn't mean that's how they really feel. They're just trying to cover their own behinds at the end of the day.
Right.
So you
sorry. No, I was gonna say that sort of hate runs generational deep. It's like if you see, and I use this as like a super not real example, but if a kid sees their grandparents against something, and then their parents grew up in that household, and this is sort of what their family is about, they're not going to there's a good chance they're not going to step on the outside and be the black sheep of the family. There's a very good chance that they're not. You know what I mean? And in today's world, in today's very cancel-heavy culture, when you see entire lives sort of ruined, and with good reason we see lives ruined because of past actions, those kids grow up then to feel that same hate that their grandparents did. And then suddenly, their hate is validated. With Trump, a lot of people's hate that they weren't sure, like maybe they were just behind on the times, their hate was validated because they saw it still existed. And if it still existed and can be at the highest levels of power, then they themselves can hold on to those beliefs as well.
Can I just say how much you low-key triggered me just now? Like when all you said was cancel culture, and I got so triggered because for me, I can't stand cancel culture. I'll go on the internet every day, because I just.
What is cancel culture?
When you say somebody like R. Kelly, how they canceled him.
Even if it's not even that deep.
It could be something simple.
Something simple.
You just don't exist in our culture no more.
If a black person.
Cancel.
Well, I mean, yeah. Kodak is
I would say
canceled.
something even lower than that. If you see a black person go out with Tommy Hilfiger on, because they say that Tommy was Hilfiger was.
He was though.
Or Gucci.
He was though.
Okay, but they're canceled. Oh, because they wore clothes. It's ridiculous. I get why you're upset, but the whole cancel culture of it all is annoying.
It's all about the intent of them wearing it. If they don't know, they don't know. If they know and they're doing it in spite, cancel.
But the internet.
How do you prove someone knows?
We have to have sit downs.
That's the internet.
That's the toxic part. The internet takes it upon themselves to judge the intention.
Exactly.
Instead of giving them the opportunity. But there's somebody like people like Floyd, who we don't really need to give the opportunity. He told us straight flat out, he wants to be his own boss. He didn't care about what Gucci did. So he can be canceled, right? When people like that do outlandish things like that, okay. Right? Because now you have reason and resolution.
Wow.
Where sometimes you have reason to cancel somebody, but what's the resolution to it? Why are we doing it?
I forgot who he told this to, but he said the reason why he did it because he said the bad guy always wins. Bad guy always walks away with a bag.
That's what he said?
That's what he said.
Okay.
I mean, as long as he's comfortable being the bad guy, that's fine. If you don't mind being canceled, that's okay. You got money. And plus, people like that don't value his culture. He values his bank account. So us canceling him doesn't have no effect on him, which once again is why I say, what's the end game with canceling people? Most of them don't care. They still do whatever they want to do. Our culture cancel Kanye, right? Tongue twister. We canceled Kanye, right? But as soon as he was in that,
you did?
I said our culture. I say me. I'm still a fan
Oh.
of Kanye.
Oh,
But
I did.
that's fine. But everybody came right back when he was in Africa doing them African hymns.
I did.
But that's fine. But the culture did. They embraced that. I seen everybody embrace him in Africa singing them gospel hymns. And it's like that's all that it takes for y'all. It's toxic.
Yeah, there's no stability to it, and people just do it so fast. Well, it's the internet. There is no time wasted. There is no looking things up. Actually, that's crazy because people will look things up to oblivion just to prove their point, but they won't they won't look to see the reason as to why someone said something or did something. But it's another toxic.
It's okay to disagree.
Exactly.
That's what I've always in the Kanye situation. You don't have to.
Thank you.
You
bro.
really don't have to like what Kanye.
I say the same thing all the time. I
You
say the
don't.
same thing all the time. Kanye didn't really. To me, he said things that did hurt the culture. It did. And as a fan, I was hurt by some of the things that he said. But to cancel him, it's like, what did he really do that was that bad
The
for us
thing
to
with
cancel?
Kanye for me is, hopefully there's an underline to it, and he actually has something planned for to better other people, and he had to act like that. But we don't know that right now. All I see is somebody doing extra to gain clout and go towards the head of this whole racism movement. He goes to the head of it and dances around for him.
Now here's the thing. What
Now-
if he's not? What if those are his? What if Kanye actually supports Trump?
I don't care.
I don't care
I
either.
don't care.
But then that's when you just disagree.
Then,
with
Yeah, I just
then it's
disagree.
like, then it's like, why?
I don't even care to know
but-
that. It's not.
I don't even. Yeah, I don't even care to know why because
it's different.
it's his
There's a
opinion.
difference between liking somebody just because you think they got some type of good for the community, and then there's difference between a regular like official and like Hitler coming. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just.
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But you ever been at a barbecue in the neighborhood, and the person that did something real stupid on the block comes to the barbecue? He can still come to the cookout, but he's gonna get teased. Somebody's gonna say something. You know, you can still come, but it's gonna be uncomfortable for you.
If you do somebody like daughter or somebody wrong, they not coming back on that block.
But that's not what Kanye did. He didn't do anything personally to
But
anybody.
that's what Trump been doing.
That's what I'm saying.
And for someone to be riding around with him, it's like, what's going on?
You've never had a friend that sided with somebody that you felt was wrong?
Not to those extents, no.
To what
Because
extent?
I've cut them off.
To what extent? Because he's never said exactly what he agreed with Trump on. He's never said, "Oh, I think that every black country is a asshole."
All I know
He's
is
never said that.
the video that we seen with him and Trump, I've never seen him act like that in front of nobody else.
I mean, it
Which
goes
one?
back to
In
that
the
great
White House?
Dave
How
Chappelle.
happy he was and all that. Like,
Yeah,
I've
that
never-
was embarrassing.
No, no.
Yeah, all right, but
It's
I've
true.
never seen
But-
why act like a groupie in front of him, tap dance all in front of all them cameras. When you around everybody else is different.
Do you
That's
think
It goes
clown
back. It goes
behavior.
back
I
to
agree
that
with you.
that
We agree.
great
But
Dave
why would you want
Chappelle.
to follow a clown?
Listen,
Who
look,
said
it goes back
follow?
to. It goes
we said
back
don't
to.
cancel. We didn't say anything about following.
No.
It's a difference. See, that's the cancel culture. It's either you gotta follow or you can't be with us. I don't want
Either you
Nah.
for us or you against us. There ain't no in betweens.
That definitely is not the way of
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, I don't. That whole heal you there.
It's like, well, let's say like, this is go for like how Nipsey did it, right? And he told us in the interview, like, you know, all the goofy dudes, they gonna show out. Then you gonna see different things. But if you just stay true to inspire and push the culture, everything else gonna show themselves.
So Nipsey
now-
was 100% good. Nipsey was never a bad person.
He was never against the culture, no.
No. That's not what I asked. I said, is Nipsey never a bad person?
I think what you mean is like making mistakes, right?
Make him
Because
mistakes.
being bad is relative.
But I know damn well he'll never do what
Like-
Kanye
like-
did. I know that.
It's either making mistakes or going down a road in life you know isn't beneficial to
For
you
sure.
or to
Absolutely.
people.
He'd say it
Of
himself.
course.
Yeah. The whole
You need
gang
to go
culture.
down
He
those
said it
roads.
himself.
So
Absolutely.
my point is
But no.
that's the gray area. You know what I
That's
mean?
what we're saying. The gray area. We're not saying that the situations are the same, right? Like Kanye's gray area is him siding with Trump. That's a path that we don't want to follow, right? I could say the same thing for gang culture. Going down that path is somewhere I don't want to follow, and I'm pretty sure somebody that's in that life would say the same thing. If you're not in it, don't come in it.
Exactly.
So that's the gray area we're talking about. But are we going to cancel somebody because they decided to make that choice? I don't think so.
You have to think the gray area is where
You gotta explain
a
it.
lot of
you side with a like a bigot and siding with somebody that's in the streets. You think that's the same level?
Oh, you and your levels. I think, okay. So I'm not saying it's the same thing, right? And no, it is not the same struggle.
Okay.
But the gray area is the same, and that's what we're saying. The gray area, the area of going down a path that one would not want to follow.
So if Kanye was cool with Trump, what if he would have been cool with Hitler? Same thing? He's still good?
you can't come now. See,
That's
everybody. Everybody does this. They always.
It's the Hitler argument. I know it.
Hitler.
Because he's the most monstrous person in history. So we're gonna touch on his.
And the thing is, he's not. The thing is,
like...
Hitler did a lot of bad stuff. He is far from the worst. He is the most recognizable because at the time he did it, media was around.
Yeah, it was polarizing.
True.
Propaganda and everything was formatting. Yeah.
True.
But there are conquerors that put Hitler to shame. I forget what the number is. I think it's like 1 in every 6 people, 1 in every 6 Mandarin speaking Chinese people are somehow related to Genghis Khan. That's how much he raped and pillaged.
That's another level.
All right, but in American culture, right? Like as far as Trump being a president, in the last 2-3 years he's been there, him telling people that they're not allowed to come to the country, separating families. Who's bigger? Who's the biggest monster that we've seen so far as president?
You know what? Can I answer this, bro? Can I answer this? Okay.
No.
I want to touch on this like this. Based off of everything that Kanye's decisions have made, right? Everything that he's done, all the decisions he's made. What decision has he made that was detrimental to our culture? What has he stopped us from doing? What decision did he make that derailed our progression? What has he done to stop us?
And I mean,
because political views is one thing.
I can tell you one. All the millions of people that watch him and follow him.
Okay, so you're saying it's a psychological effect?
Yes.
His influence.
But for me personally, I mean, for me, other than music, for me personally, I've never seen or heard nothing, and that's to me was just icing on the cake. Like, okay, well, this guy, he's clearly, I don't see him do anything for the community anyway.
Right.
So, now a perfect example, just like Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey went up there, but now that we know the real story with Steve Harvey, he really ain't know what he was doing. But Steve Harvey does stuff for the community on a big scale.
So does Kanye.
I don't know about that.
So what do you mean? Kanye has started educational programs in Chicago. So Kanye has done a lot of philanthropy.
Once Steve realized what was going on, he was trying to get the hell up out of there.
So he was canceled for a moment and then he was welcome back.
Who, Steve?
You don't remember when we can't?
Steve was any black person that went up to see Trump was definitely canceled.
I didn't.
All the black pastors that went up there, everybody was bastardized and canceled.
I didn't cancel him because I know everything that he does. Not everything, but he does a lot for black people.
So does Kanye. So what are we again? First and foremost, I'm not gonna sit there and allow you to come to the cookout because you do a lot for us. That's not enough for me. Because once you start becoming detrimental to our society and our culture, you're gone. So it doesn't matter
You know who else did a lot for us? Bill Cosby did a lot for us.
For sure.
Bill Cosby currently sitting in jail.
Yeah, but I mean that's all for stuff that he's done.
Bill Cosby.
No, but Bill Cosby's done a lot. I think people underestimate
but that
how
doesn't
much
excuse raping girls back in the day.
It doesn't. No, exactly my point.
It's
It
worth
doesn't.
canceling. That's the point.
What you do for the community,
So,
opposed to what you're
stuff
at.
is not worth canceling him.
But
No.
But that's
No, listen.
Trump.
what you've done for the
Kanye saying
community.
that I agree with this, and this point does not say I agree with him kicking people out the country, now allowing them to come in, incarcerating them in
R.
camps.
Kelly pissed on people. I'm not messing with him no more.
But that's drastic. He affected someone's
All
life.
right, but that's the same.
How
It's
is
not.
it the same thing?
Don't you
So
don't
Trump
say
didn't
don't,
affect
don't,
people's
don't
lives?
say the
Allow
same
him
thing.
to explain.
No,
I
no, no.
really want
No,
him
you
to
said
be clear
Trump,
on it.
but Kanye. I'm talking.
Yeah,
talking
I really
Kanye.
want him to talk on it though, because he keeps saying Trump.
No.
But I want you to be clear though.
So we clear on R. Kelly doing his thing, and you're comfortable canceling him.
For sure, because
Yes.
he had the first hand account in making that happen.
Okay.
He raped
So
little
Trump
girls.
doing the things he do and separating families, that's not him doing that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna answer your question, and I feel uncomfortable answering it because I feel like it's obvious that that is way worse.
Okay.
For someone to rape
So
a
when
child
someone does that,
compared to someone agreeing with someone's political views,
so
is
someone
not on the same level.
so someone does that with this that much hatred, and you align yourself with that man
I'm not gonna put him on the same
for
level
what
as R.
reason?
Kelly.
For what
let me.
reason? Why
Okay.
put it on the stage for what?
So you're saying that's the same thing, raping little girls, young women, and holding them against their will is on the same level
It's
as
all
you. Wait. Let me pose the question. As you agreeing with someone's political views, it's the same thing.
It can't be handled
no,
to the same extent.
like that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
So what are you saying?
I'm judging the person off of their actions. Just
Okay.
because I like R. Kelly music, I like his music,
Okay.
but I don't mess with him no more because of that.
Because of what?
Because of the things that he's done,
What did he do?
like raping girls and taking
Okay.
advantage of them.
But I want you to say it because I want to have it on a
Okay.
verbal scale. Go ahead.
But just with anybody, I might just like Trump. I really liked him as a businessman. I met him twice. I liked him as a businessman, but the things that he's showing us, I can't rock with him.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask one question?
But
Please.
When did you meet Trump?
I used to work at the I used to do a lot of catering gigs at this golf course.
So let's say this is post like 2000.
Yeah, before
This-
presidency.
Right. This is Celebrity Trump. Before then, had you known that he did what he did with the Central Park Five?
Central Park what?
The Central Park Five.
Nah.
Or you don't remember his full page ad calling for the arrest and jailing of 5 black teenagers because they raped a black woman. Later to be found out to be false. He took out a
Said-
full page ad.
He said they were animals.
No.
That's
They
what
said they
he
were
said.
animals.
He said they were
No, I didn't know
animals.
Right. So again, you can align yourself with someone because you admire what they do without sometimes knowing their full path. And I'm not saying
Yeah,
this
but
is
Kanye
Kanye.
knows.
But we don't know if Kanye knows.
Huh?
We don't. We're assuming.
Can I just say this? I don't care if Kanye knows 100% of Trump's past. I don't think a person agreeing with someone's political views is anywhere near the same level as a man taking advantage of young women and little girls.
It's
You
not.
tell me where the crime is in what Kanye's doing and how that compares. Because what R. Kelly's doing can land him jail time.
First of all, I'm not saying Kanye's doing a crime. You keep comparing that to R. Kelly.
I'm just going
I'm
by
talking
your-
R. Kelly compared to Trump.
Why are you
But
talking
what
about
I'm saying
Trump? We're
is,
talking about Kanye.
if we could cancel out R. Kelly, we can cancel out people who do morally things wrong and have a pattern of
Because
it.
R. Kelly didn't. You keep saying if we can cancel R. Kelly, then we can cancel people that are morally wrong. No, because R. Kelly's not doing anything morally wrong. He's
he
doing
did.
things. It's
No,
not.
he's doing something that's criminally wrong.
Thank you. Like it's a huge difference between being morally wrong and being criminally wrong.
What he did is morally wrong, obviously. That goes without an obvious. But what he also did was criminal.
Yeah, man.
That's the big difference that
so
we're trying to
uncomfortable
say.
to even kind of put them in the same conversation. Like R. Kelly's a whole nother separate monster. I don't think Kanye siding with Trump is something worth canceling. I just think it's worth me taking a second look at the person. Like, you know what?
Acknowledging that you do not agree with his views.
Yeah, like I just don't agree.
And then
I'ma
that's just
take a
it. It's
step
just
back from
like, you know what, I don't
everything.
agree with this.
Yeah.
I don't agree on your choices on why you want to side with this person. So I'm just not going to hold your hand down that road.
And then you start looking at everything else that he's saying, and then for me, I'm a Kanye fan. I'm a huge Kanye fan. Everybody knows that, right? I had to really look at Kanye and say, all right, I don't agree with this, but now I have to start taking a second look at other things that I may not agree with that he's doing right now. And I realized that there's a lot of things that I don't appreciate that Kanye's doing. He's not the same hero to me that he used to be. He's not the same idol to me that he used to be, just based off of the views that I'm aware of.
But just think about all the people
But that doesn't mean I
can't think for
cancel.
themselves. And they just follow Kanye to the T.
What kind of message are you sending somebody because they have an opposition of view? Because you have an opposition view of me, I'm supposed to cancel you?
No. I get what Nathan's saying, and Kanye should be held accountable for the amount of influence that he has on people. You can't. That's the problem. That starts at home. That literally starts with your upbringing and being able to think independently. If you rely on Kanye to police himself in order for other individuals to feel better about themselves, then Kanye loses his individuality because he's governed by the people. And then at the same time, people will never be able to think for themselves. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, people just have to learn to differentiate these levels in people's characters. I personally think Kanye's pretty stupid. I don't agree with what he's doing, and I haven't listened to his music in a very, very long time. That is not to say in 10 years Kanye can't be a totally different person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's another thing cancel culture really struggles with, like
forgiveness.
Yes.
Yes.
It was
He's
toxic.
I'm
He's got to pay the culture homage.
Well, I mean, like, however they
I need
want
to see
to look at
change.
it.
I need to see the reason why.
For like, I don't know how many of y'all use Twitter often, but I'm gonna just use an example. There was this guy on Twitter. He's pretty popular. He always like is feeding deers and stuff.
Brother Nature.
Brother Nature, right?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Brother Nature.
He's dope. He's funny. He's great.
Yeah.
But he had a past, and people dug into it.
Oh,
They went into
remember that? They went old tweets?
They went into his old
They
tweets.
wanted to cancel him so fast. He was like, what, 14?
Yes, he had said some racist stuff, let's say derogatory. But he said some things about black people that wasn't.
Goddamn, darkest.
What about Kevin Hart? Do we cancel him now too?
People
Because
have
he has a discriminated view of homosexuals? Because he made a bad joke years ago?
I don't even want to get into comedy because I ain't gonna hold you.
Kevin Hart? No.
Yes.
Yeah, but we know Kevin Hart is not deeply hating, like homosexual. I mean, like gay people and stuff like that.
It's crazy how you have the gift to know what people's intentions are, because no other human being has that.
Well, look at his track record. Just
I know a lot of people that have had a pattern of good that turned out not to be. Like, that's called sheep in wolf's clothing. I mean, sorry, wolf in sheep's
What about the
clothing.
people that has track records of being racist and bigots?
You got First of all, my grandmother always taught me when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. So I'm gonna believe your face value. Whatever you show me, I'm gonna believe first, right? So if a person is showing me that they're good, I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt and say I gotta go by his patterns. He's good. But my thing is
good.
But my thing is this. I'll answer that. I can't judge someone's intentions. Do I think Trump is good? No, I don't think he's operating in good nature.
Not at all.
I think he's operating in of self
That's
nature.
somebody you can
all
rock
about
with,
himself.
sit down, have a beer with.
My guy is
He's our president. So if he ever wanted to have a conversation, I'm always willing to have that talk. Always. See, I'm one thing about me is.
Hold on, give him his MAGA hat.
No, but it's not even. It's not even about the MAGA.
Can't
though.
find it.
It's not even. You know, I saw something about the MAGA. I saw an interesting acronym. Did y'all see it on social media? What was it again? Oh man, it was funny. But I'm gonna find it. And I'm gonna tell y'all next time. But no, you have to have these conversations. You have to have these conversations. You can't shy away from a difficult conversation because you view somebody as ill-natured. Yeah, morons are governing America. That's what MAGA stands for me. I'm gonna speak for myself. DWAYNE. Morons govern. What is it?
Morons are governing
America. So yeah, give me my MAGA hat. I'll wear it proudly, and I'm gonna tell you what it means to your face when they start cheering. I'm gonna tell you, it means morons are governing America.
I mean, it's the truth because you have someone who's in power who isn't even a leader and can't have a conversation.
He can't lead his family.
Leader.
No, he's not.
He's a leader. He's just not a leader for what we think.
No, he's not a leader, period.
Yeah,
That man can't lead his business. He can't lead his family.
He don't deserve that title.
For all the
That is
peace out
definitely
there,
a
he's
title.
leading all of them.
That's a title earned.
Yeah. I just want to throw this
That's
in there
a
because
great
I
point.
know we should probably move on to a new topic soon, but I just want to throw this out there. The bad guy.
Hey, that's my job, okay?
Yeah, you doing a moderator job?
I got this.
You know, the bad guy never thinks that they're the bad guy. They never do. The bad guy always thinks they're the good guy. No bad guy ever in the history of bad people
You can't
goes,
say that.
you know what?
Some people
I'm the
thought
bad
of
guy.
it.
You know? Hitler didn't think he was
I
the bad guy.
once.
Trump definitely does not think he's the bad guy. None of these people who we see as opposition think that what they're doing is bad.
If we lose World War II, we're the enemy.
Right. So you have to. The only way to really solve these sort of things is to engage in conversation, so people can see different perspectives. There's no good and bad. There really is just this gray area where we just need to be understanding of our problems are going to be the same as people who live in middle America. They're just going to be painted differently.
Well,
You know.
I mean, I feel like we can get there once we get someone in power that can speak more than 3 syllables. But until that happens, no shade.
I also want to throw this out there. One last take on, I guess, cancel culture. If cancel culture existed way back during the civil rights movement, I guarantee you, both Martin Luther King and Malcolm X would not be who they are.
Yeah, man. If social media period existed, could you imagine all the dirt they pull up on Malcolm X?
Bro.
What's Cole keep saying?
I think that'd be a nice little skit.
Michael
we could do.
Jackson.
Yeah, that would be
God.
fire, though. That would be fire.
Michael Jackson?
Showing MLK's DMs, like, whoa, what was he doing?
I had a bitch.
So yeah, you gotta remember, like Martin Luther King was a womanizer. He cheated on his wife many times.
Yeah.
And we don't say that to throw dirt. We say that to give
OGs right
context
there.
and bring it 180 that.
And show
Sometimes
reality.
you can, and give a reality to the situation. Like,
Yeah.
That you can grow and be a different person. He grew into a better person. Like Malcolm X grew into a better person.
Yeah.
Literally.
how many people were cut short and not given that opportunity? Like when we see Pac, right? He didn't have that opportunity to really turn that table like he wanted to. And we see that happen to a lot of people, man. They just don't have that opportunity. So while they're still here, why are we canceling? Instead of canceling, some people deserve it, like we said, R. Kelly. But in most cases, give them the opportunity to grow.
You think MLK would be surviving this Me Too era?
No.
Do I feel he'll survive the Me Too ever?
Son,
I think so.
I think there's some side
It
chicks
would,
still
it
alive.
would
Still popping that thing.
be, I mean,
Listen, Russell Simmons goes on Instagram Live every day in whatever country he's in. He's not even in America right now. But
Cause
he's
he
sitting,
know he can't come back.
right, but he's in whatever country, sitting Indian style on whatever bench.
Hold up, he can't come back. Why?
Because
He got a lot of charges
allegation.
against him.
Really?
Yeah.
He got Bill Cosby thing going on.
He got so many charges.
Yeah, they're gonna be waiting for him at the airport for sure. If he tries.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
oh, good.
I think it'd be tough on MLK, but I think he'll survive.
Yeah, I think it would have been gradual, but he would have came
I
out.
think his later works would have helped him.
They got stories on him like covering up for people who done that and all of that, bro. Like everybody coming out on him.
Everybody has dirt.
Oh, can I give y'all a quick little thing on MLK? So I found out that MLK actually survived the gunshot that let me say this again. I found out that MLK survived when he was shot on that balcony. He was actually taken to the hospital and he was still alive. There was a book that was written by the lawyer that represented the King family when they sued the government, and he wrote a book about he was smothered to death in the hospital. There was a nurse that was asked to leave the room. There was a deputy and a sheriff and a head doctor that walked in the room by themselves. The nurse went on to say that she heard them spitting on Dr. King, and when she turned around, they saw him smother him. Jesse Jackson, they said, was the first informant for the FBI against King, and the person that actually took the shot was a marksman for the police department.
Now, I don't know nothing about this information.
Well, yeah, the government admitted to being a part of it years ago.
That information is out there. It's public information. When I get the book, I'm going to definitely tell you how to read it, because he wrote a series, I think, of 2 or 3 books, maybe. But it's a good
Now,
read.
that's why we got to be on some Malcolm X-ish. Take over.
Malcolm X got shot and killed, too. That's another thing too. Like y'all don't think because y'all got to take the aggressive approach or the passive approach. Both our passive and aggressive leaders were both killed or sent to
They're
jail.
gonna get killed, but they set up the
Be
footsteps.
yourself, man. Just stand up for yourself.
Set up the footsteps.
Facts.
That's what Nipsey did. He followed behind Malcolm X's shadow. He always talked about that.
But if we could talk about a true queen real quick. Can we talk about Bay real quick? How she
We
just
can.
made...
I actually wanted to get into that because I want to destroy just some myths that Nathan has of Beyonce.
Such strong words.
Wow, hater. What? Hold on. Is she the top R&B artist in the world?
She is not.
Who's over her?
So we will get to that in a second.
I know the exact stats that he's gonna say too, because we talked about.
I'm gonna bring it because we just had this conversation the other day.
Yeah.
We just had this conversation.
I
Well, one,
Can she sell out Madison Square Garden in about
she
2
absolutely
minutes?
can.
She
She
can.
absolutely
Okay.
can.
And whoever
But
you
here's the
about to say, I promise you they can.
All right. So one, I just want to say, Homecoming was good. It was an experience.
Amazing.
You got to see Beyonce really like put on a show.
Be her.
Go about. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching the actual documentary, and in my head I'm thinking,
Hold on. And the whole thing, she's majority owner of that. Remember that. Now, whoever artist you about to say, I doubt they own their stuff like that. But go ahead.
okay. So I'm sitting and I'm talking to Amy and I'm thinking like, yo, when did Beyonce become more than just an artist? Like, when did she? Because you gotta remember, her early solo stuff didn't pop as well as she may have wanted to. Destiny's Child was one thing. Then Beyonce went solo.
Did you hear me answer that?
And it popped. What?
Birth.
Birth. So I started doing research. I was like, yo, if Beyonce's doing like these amount of crowds and everyone loves her, yo, I can only imagine the amount of records she sold. So I went on, I did my research, and I looked up most records ever sold. No, I'm looking up most records ever sold. Right?
That was shocking.
And so I go to the top 10, and guess who I don't see? Beyonce. Fine. I go to the top 20. Guess who I don't see? Beyonce. I go to the top 30, and guess who I see at the bottom of the top 30? Finally, Beyonce.
What number was she?
I don't remember the exact number, but in her solo career, you ready for this? She has only sold 90 million records.
No.
90 million as a solo artist, 60 million as Destiny's Child.
I appreciate someone who doesn't really like Beyonce to actually take their time and look up this stuff about her, but you gotta look at these streaming things.
I haven't even
I haven't even said the other person yet.
Wait, I haven't even said the
phone numbers out there.
Alright, got it. I put the muzzle back on.
Let me get the person that I'm comparing her to. Are you ready?
I got you.
Because guess who I saw in the top 5 with 250 plus records sold?
Somebody with a 360 deal. Go ahead.
Rihanna.
Exactly.
No, not a 360 deal.
Hold on, my dude. Rihanna got all her masters. Relax yourself.
That's what I'm about to say. Rihanna owns all her masters.
Right, Rihanna got all her masters.
So why Rihanna ain't up in the Forbes like Bey?
And you know what? And that's the question. That's the question. No, listen. That's the question that I had the conversation.
Rihanna's not on the level of Beyonce.
Let me finish. I don't want people who are listening to think we're just like talking over each other. Look,
Hilarious, yo.
How we delirious? The numbers speak for itself.
That's the question. Look, that's the question that when I had the conversation with Kayla the other day that I said, I was like, Beyonce clearly is worth more. She's worth over 300 million. Rihanna's in about the 190s, almost 200. Her makeup empire hasn't really took off like it will in a couple of years, which will make her a billionaire.
Beyonce has a lot of makeup lines and.
But her makeup lines are a little less expensive.
Yo, the fact that you said she has a lot of makeup lines but couldn't name one speaks volumes. It says everything.
Listen, Fenty will make Fenty will make Rihanna a billionaire. Without a doubt.
Take your time. Matter of fact, go to Google. Rihanna has what's the name of Rihanna's?
No, listen.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Beyonce-
Every girl
Beyonce
that
had
you
a
ever
really
talked to had a
successful-
fancy product. Stop it.
No, I don't.
Stop
I
it.
don't know.
Wait, go ahead. Hold on, go ahead, David. Go ahead, say what you're gonna say.
No, I was gonna say is look, Beyonce did have some really smart investments on her end that has put her into a category of being worth over 300 million. Fenty will make Rihanna
Over 700 million.
No, Jay-Z's worth over 700 million. Beyonce's only worth 3.
Alright, we breaking his heart.
You can do the
I
research.
can hear it breaking from over here.
Bro, it wasn't until like last
Good.
year, or maybe the beginning of the year before that. Jay make more money than Babe. I'm telling you.
Bro, I don't like this side of you, man.
Jay-Z not only
I don't like
makes
this
more
side of
money,
you,
Bro, because you're delirious,
I like
man.
this.
It's like,
he's double. Like, and you know what? That's because Jay-Z and Beyonce are smart together. I don't separate their money because they're married. Together,
Right.
they're worth
I
a
agree.
collective $1 billion. They are a power couple. Rihanna is doing this solo. And here, Nate, I'm not saying Rihanna's better. I
That's a
was shocked
fact,
by the
because
numbers
honestly,
too.
Beyonce is the best entertainer
I
in the
mean,
world.
that shouldn't be in question.
Yeah.
Like, she's the greatest
I was
entertainer in
shocked.
the world.
I was like Rihanna's in the
That's a
same
fact.
category. Her 250 million records sold is in the same category as the Beatles and Michael Jackson. That's shocking to me.
Chris units. I've been saying that though. Like that's why I be like, yo, Rihanna's really that one. But I still don't think she's a better entertainer than Beyonce though.
But like what I was telling Dede, how I felt like maybe what might have tampered with her numbers could have been maybe Tidal. Cause like not many people, like most people were still on Apple and Spotify, you know, and a lot
Agreed.
of.
And what did I tell you?
Say it again.
I said, and what did I tell you?
I need to see streaming
What did you
numbers.
tell me? I forgot.
I told you, I said, even if Beyonce right now has only sold about 100 million records, she's 150 away from Rihanna. Even if the 2 albums she sold under Tidal went double diamond, which they did not, she'd still be a cool 110 million records
It's still a
shy
far gap.
of Rihanna.
It's shocking.
It's crazy.
It's
I mean,
shocking.
it's nuts. The numbers don't speak for them as an entertainer, right? Because Beyonce's better as an entertainer.
She is.
But we can't argue with the numbers as far as success, as far as monetizing their success. Rihanna has a better career. Like, what you want me to say? I hate to do this to the people I care
She
about.
got a better career. I'm dead.
I mean,
What you
Beyonce
doing
in
it
2018's net worth, what
A
did
better
it say?
career.
355 million last year for Beyonce. Let's look up Rhea real quick if we want to compare. I mean, I don't. We don't got to. We don't have to.
Beyonce's worth more money for now. For now.
Right.
For now.
The trajectory
Because
is looking in Rihanna's favor.
Right.
It is.
Rihanna's going to be. I'm calling it. She is going to be a billionaire
Right.
because of her makeup.
Fenty
Okay. And she's doing that by herself.
And for
Rihanna-
somebody
What's her name?
Fenty.
Fenty.
He's trying to play.
You really trying to double down on it,
I didn't know that. I swear to God, I don't look at Rihanna. I don't damn sure don't look at makeup.
It's Fenty. I don't look at makeup, but I know that for a fact. Like, it's Fenty.
All my women
Yo.
don't need makeup.
If they're telling you that, they're lying.
They're lying.
Take him to the pool on the first date.
I guarantee you show up with Fenty. I guarantee you they're gonna appreciate it and love that.
Let me see how much
I
Fenty
guarantee
costs.
you.
Hold on.
It's enough to make
You know what?
Beyonce.
It's expensive, but
I used
it's
to Fenti.
it is really it is a really nice. I've bought it before for Ariane. It's a really nice
You're familiar.
makeup line.
You're gonna be seeing it everywhere if it's not already there.
And she also does Fenty clothing. Remember, she has her deal.
Oh, the lingerie.
Oh, the
my God.
lingerie line? That
The
that's gonna
lingerie.
pop crazy. It's already been going nuts.
Facts.
She has her own. She has her own shoe with Puma. Like the moves Rihanna make has been so
Yeah.
impressive.
Now guess what? Rihanna had the Puma deal. Guess who just signed with Adidas?
Beyonce, and that's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be really big.
It's
She
gonna be
needed
huge.
it though, because Ivy Park wasn't really doing much, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel bad. You know
I
what?
was disappointed by that.
I felt like I was trying to make excuses. I was like, maybe it's doing like silent success. You know, like it's it's
We're just not
progressing.
aware of it.
Right.
Yeah, I
Because, like,
understand what you're saying,
Silent and success.
Like most people talk about like the big like companies, like, and I'm not trying to be shady in this, but like, you know, Apple and like Disney, like those are the big companies out there right now. When really it's like, okay, Microsoft's still out there like owning stuff, like they still mad rich, like so it's like that silent success, but I don't know if that's the case.
You know who having a a not so silent but silent success to the most popular people, like we talked about last time. That's Disney.
Facts. Disney's going off.
You said silent?
Like silent to the mass population. I feel like they don't really know everything
I
that
get what
they.
you're saying.
Oh, you mean like all the moves
That
they
Fox
made?
merger wasn't so silent. That Fox merger.
The Fox merger was.
I mean, nah, but
I think
I barely heard of that. I understand.
I think he's saying to the casual fan.
To the casual
that makes
fans
sense.
that don't know.
I don't follow it.
Like they don't know.
I would even say to the casual fan. I would even say for the casual fan in here, because you have to remember, we're talking about like Simpsons, like huge IP.
Yeah, but a lot of people who watch The Simpsons don't care who made it. They don't care who
I think I
owns
agree
it.
with Nate on this one. I don't think people followed where the properties went. I think they just followed the sitcom. So they may not
Simpsons
know.
and Family Guy are synonymous with Fox.
No, I know that.
We know that.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, them knowing that the deal is being taken place and not visually seeing it on the screen, the casual fan wouldn't know about the deal unless they're looking for it.
Fact. Like I have friends that are Marvel fans, and I was hyped when that Fox deal was. I was like, oh, we about to get X-Men on the movies. They'd be like, why would that happen? They don't know.
Yeah.
Like they don't know like
No.
you know, like when you open a a folder on a computer and it has like a drop down of like everything that's in it. Like I feel like they don't know the deep details of what they were getting in that deal. You know, so I think that's where he was getting at. Like they don't know like the small details, but. Yeah,
I get that. I get that. And you know what? I'm happy for Disney. Again, we're looking at it for very different reasons. I think a lot of people are like, ooh, I can't wait for Disney to sort of make all these IPs. You know, they have control over Fantastic Four, and they have control over X-Men and everything. I'm looking at it from a perspective of, I want to see how Disney gets out of this $180 billion debt.
I think it's not really gonna be. I give them what I say at max. I say minimum 10, 15 years of good moves, money moves in terms of movies and shows. They can get out of that debt pretty easy. Like
I agree. I think of all the companies that had, because you have to remember, Disney and Fox was not the only big merger in the industry this year. People don't know, or they just don't care, that AT&T and Warner Brothers merged into one company. Into one. AT&T now owns Warner Brothers and HBO and a whole bunch of their properties. And AT&T alone also now has $140 billion debt because they're borrowing in hopes that they're going to make that money back in streaming services, because Netflix makes billions of dollars a year in revenue.
That's big. That's huge. But what's their service like? No, I don't know. I really don't know.
No one knows the service yet.
I just know that Disney streaming service is gonna strongly put some dents in Netflix.
That's gonna be their
Disney.
biggest.
I'm sorry. I got it.
Don't choose. Have both.
No, I'm for sure gonna go with both. Are you crazy?
Yeah, I
Netflix
can't live it
originals, I'm
myself.
addicted to it.
I can't
Maybe
live
their
with
prices will go back down.
The humble
Humble themselves a little bit.
Disney has charged so little for their service, they're making it possible for you to have multiple streamings. $6.99 is nothing.
That's crazy. That's gonna be the price of Disney?
What, Disney?
Yes.
Oh, that's nuts.
Yo, I would definitely buy some stock in Disney right now.
$6.99 is nothing. And you gotta remember, like, we're all thinking about Infinity War. Disney this year is absolutely killing the
They
game.
got Star Wars at the end of the year.
We got
Lion King in the middle.
Dumbo came out like a week ago, and no one cared to talk about that.
I don't care about
It's a Disney movie.
Let's not do Dumbo.
Never been a fan.
Let's
A flying elephant.
That's pocket change for Disney. Disney's like, you know what? That's pocket change. Let's get a little money in right now, because we about to really make a lot of money.
Oh, word, and we got Toy Story 4. Oh my god. Aladdin live action. Oh my god, Disney, chill. Relax. Well, is this new X-Men movie still considered Fox, or is it Disney?
No, it'll be Disney.
Because it's Marvel,
right? And because Disney owns Marvel, it'll probably be made through Marvel Studios, but don't hold your breath on seeing it for a couple of years. It probably won't happen for some time.
Oh, okay. That's still crazy though.
Yeah,
That's nuts.
it'll probably won't happen for some time.
I'm totally ready though. That's why I'm so.
It's really that small too.
That's why I'm so confident they're gonna get that money back because.
It's an investment. I mean, yeah, they took a loss, but it's an investment. They're gonna get that dumb fool.
They will, but if they don't, look, it's one of those decisions you make in your life where it's either going to be really good or really bad. And I know from the outside looking in, it looks like it could be really good, but it takes one or two moves for it to go really bad.
Right.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So, over the years, people are just going to be watching as they free up cash to actually, like, do other big things. I think the streaming service is going to help. It's starting out with 19 Pixar movies, all of the Marvel movies.
You got a friend in me.
Like it's gonna be. They got original Star Wars series coming out. They got original Marvel series coming out.
Don't they got some anthology tales of Star Wars coming out?
Say it again.
Don't they have like those anthology movies?
Yeah, they're gonna have some anthology movies. They're doing I think a TV series called The Mandarin. It's gonna be huge. These next couple of years.
That's dope.
So speaking about people,
Okay.
now I was gonna say speaking about taking over, right? Because the takeover for this particular artist has been pretty nuts in the first few months of the year.
Oh, right.
Beyonce?
Good transition, right?
Yeah.
I do this.
You know, you got a little song.
I'm pretty good at this.
What artist now?
Yeah.
No.
Somebody that we all kind of appreciated in the past couple
All of
months.
us?
For the most of us.
I would say most of us. I didn't mind it. Well, I watch Disney a lot, so I mean, yeah, no, you'll see where it's coming from in a second. So yeah, this new song that came out, we didn't really talk about it last week, but last week it kind of was fresh. That new
It's super old probably to the internet at this point.
to the internet, yeah, it's pretty old. But Billy Ray Cyrus was featured on it.
my horse to the hotel road.
That song has been on every airwave, everybody's social media. Yo, I even seen recently Dave East, right? He went to Instagram and he said, "Yo, that Old Town Road record is trash.
Yeah,
What's going on with hip hop right now?"
So
He was down.
Dave East is such a hater. I saw a meme the other day that said Dave East makes music for dudes who work in warehouses and sell weed on the side. And I was like, yo, that is so accurate.
Yo, that's not funny because I can see that. I love Dave East. I don't want to laugh at
Like
that.
Miley Cyrus is bigger than Beyonce now too, huh?
Oh man.
Oh my god.
Somebody is hurt.
You need
Man.
some fries
Chasing
and stuff.
that.
Oh, man. Somebody is hurt.
It's not even that, but I hated to see that video. Like, why you had to hate so bad?
Well, you know what's so contradictory about that? Because there was a video I seen on social media. They did a before and after. First, they showed him saying it was trash, and then they showed a previous video where he's listening to it in his truck, smoking weed, bopping to it. So everybody was like, "Yo, Dave, what's going on with your energy? Like, you like it or you
When has
don't?"
anyone ever cared about what Dave East really had to say? He mediocre to me.
Nah, whoa.
Davies is
He
fire,
mediocre.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Nah,
He
Davies is not
mediocre.
mediocre, bro. Relax.
His
Nah,
videos is trash,
Davies
and
got bars.
the bars is
what I
like
have to deal
mediocre.
with.
Nah, bro, you bugging on that one. Davies is not mediocre. I can give you a lot of mediocrity before I get to Davies. A
I'm
lot.
going with Davies.
Before I get to Davies. Nah.
Kodak Black.
Kodak Black is not. See, Kodak mediocrity is a
Cancel.
compliment to give to Kodak Black.
Facts. That's
Yo, he look like Maggie Simpson right now. You see his yellow hair? Why he look like a Simpson character? It's ridiculous.
I seen something on social media the other day where they said they mentioned in the same sentence Kodak Black and street cred, and I was like, and I don't even really know this cat, but I'm like, I know this cat ain't got no
He look
real
like
street
a clown,
cred.
though. Nah. There was, matter of fact, there was a Zoe that's that resides in Miami. He was speaking on that. He was saying he runs with some of the same OGs that Kodak runs with, and they all said the same thing. We don't side with him. Why is there certain artists? He was questioning it. He was like, why are certain artists saying they gonna ride for him? All of Florida gonna ride for him? No, they not. The Zoes are not. They already came out and said, you're bugging for what you're saying. And on his new song, he's trash, man. I hate even giving him this much energy. His new song,
Canceled.
he was talking about, he mentioned Nipsey as that rapper. that rapper, when he was speaking about the situation with him apologizing in the song, that man has not showed an ounce of grace. He's not shown an ounce of respect towards the situation or to the people involved in grieving. He's trash. I don't ever want to say
But
his
if
name.
Kanye sat down with him,
They'll probably have
They have the best
that would be
conversation.
the most amazing conversation. I would pay money to see that conversation.
They
I'm not
would
gonna
be
get
the
nothing
best
from it.
part.
this is how
I'm
it
not gonna
go.
get nothing from it.
This how it go. Kodak gonna sit down. Hey yo, there's Zeke Zeke. Kanye gonna be like, okay, I see where you're coming from, but this is how I look at it.
And Kodak is gonna be the yes, saying yes to everything, thinking he getting credit, but he really not.
I don't even think Kodak talks. Like, what does he say when he talks? Like, what is that? Is that a language?
He
A
talk like
functional
he's
language?
retarded.
He sounds like he talking Morse code, like he's talking Plex or something.
Retarded ain't the right word, but I know what you mean. Like,
He's a little
he
mentally
off.
declined.
He definitely thinks he's a
Mentally
cartoon
declined.
character for sure. Cause that hairstyle. Have y'all seen the hairstyle? I just want to clown him for a moment. Have y'all seen the hairstyle?
Man, have you seen
Ridiculous.
him?
Yeah, but have you seen him in that yellow hair?
He look like a
Oh,
Simpson
shit,
character.
shallow now.
Yeah. He looked like Maggie Simpson. I'm saying, I gotta pull up the picture. Cause he got yellow spikes in his hair. Kodak looked dumb.
Say he look like Mac.
I don't know who told him to. I don't know who told him to get that hairstyle.
So I can't see the whole
You
thing.
can't pull up the whole picture though. You just show it on when you pull it up.
I didn't know he actually did it yellow.
Yeah, he got
Yeah, I
his
don't know
hair
what
yellow.
Oh, that's because everybody was calling him Maggie before that. So he said, because look, this picture right here, they was calling him Maggie before that. They was calling, I remember social media was calling Maggie before that. So he said, you know what, I'll
he
just
needs
buy
to
it.
pacify.
Well, he needs to pacify.
Yeah.
Something else.
He's a
Don't
clown.
tempt him.
Yeah, don't tempt him. He probably will get a pacifier, a diamond bedazzled
Now look at it.
pacifier.
Look, I
Well,
mean, he can
Ross
do
has
what he
goddamn
want.
mind.
He still can fuck.
People like that, if you're standing in the, I understand having a good time with music and whatever. People like that who don't really care about the culture, don't want to move forward. I'm just, me personally, I just look at him different now, man. I just look at him different. Even if he didn't do what he did, to be, well, like, what are you doing for us?
And that's why I really like even Cole when he released his album. He had a whole song dedicated to practically
Trying to tell him.
preaching to the new generation of rappers.
Try.
Like, you got this platform, you gotta do something right with it.
Jay had a whole album
Bro,
preaching to people.
can we be real? All 2019, we've been seeing some of our most prolific rappers really step up and give us some real jewels. We seen Meek do the same thing with prison reform. We seen Nipsey do it with Victory Lap.
Here we go, put
We
Meek
seen-
and Nips in the same convo. Nah, but I understand what you're saying.
All right, I'm just making sure. Because there's a lot of disrespect coming to Meek's way. Like, he deserves that. Because Meek has been doing a lot.
Ain't nobody do it like Nip.
There we go. We had this conversation last
Yeah.
week.
And you're not going to get me to speak bad on Nip. That's a fact. So I'm going to just let you have your moment. But Meek, Nip, who else? Cole,
Cole,
who else?
Jay.
Jay, Kendrick. Like, we've been having prolific rappers come out dropping some jewels. We just got to pay attention to that. Get Maggie out of here, man. We don't want to talk to this Simpsons character no more.
What we gonna do about all the other Maggie Simpsons?
They're gonna die out like
Yeah.
every other one-hit wonder does.
Just let them
Nipsey, Goofy.
dwell away. It's not gonna work out for them.
Yeah, but the more we keep giving them attention, man, the more life we give them.
Yeah, it's not necessary.
I just wanted to touch on that, you know, because I thought it was funny. His hair.
I thought- Yeah, I wanted to talk about the Billy Ray because like I just thought it was a cute little. A lot of people get on it because it's like, okay, it's corny, but I just thought it was one of those fun songs where it mixed rap and country, and I'm like, cool. It was a cool song. It's having its moment. I don't feel like that's a need to hate on it. You know. It's
Nah,
not
we
that
now
bad.
need a whole genre. We need a whole genre of country.
Yo, I need that song chopped and screwed ASAP. Can somebody please do that? I need Old Town Road chopped and screwed.
Chopped and
Wow.
I need that.
You gonna spit some bars?
Sure.
And it's crazy because you don't really know what song you, huh?
I was gonna say you gonna spit some bars on it.
Oh, that's a fact.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak about all the things. Nah, I ain't gonna do that. I'm not embarrassing myself. I'm gonna sound like Kodak.
No, you gotta speak from the heart. You gotta speak from the heart.
I like to express my words in my vernacular, just like I'm doing right now.
Expeditiously.
I was watching one of Trevor Noah's stand-ups, and he was like how mumble.
Trevor Noah.
He's great. I love him. And he was like how mumble rap sounds like a kid who's like who's crying and like they can't like
They
say
can't
the
get
words
their
right. So I'm like that
I love it.
hyperventilating. I
Yeah.
was like, yo, that's so true.
That's a fact, though. It does sound like that.
Trevor
They're
Noah's
trying to
awesome.
catch their breath, but they really can't.
Yeah, he's great.
So let's bury Kodak.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
somebody
Kodak's
that we
done.
can cancel.
Yeah, couldn't, he can have fun on the outskirts. Nobody.
As a matter of fact, I'll
care.
take that back. No, I'm not canceling Kodak. No, I take it back because I never was a fan of him in the first place. But I don't think we should cancel him. Just don't give him no attention.
No, I
Because he
wouldn't
can
cancel
grow.
him.
Nah, because he could grow from this. He could learn and say, you know
Right.
what, I did something stupid. I don't want to cancel him, but I'm not gonna give him energy. I'm gonna let him self-destruct on that side.
Yeah.
You know who we
decides to
should
grow up,
cancel?
Come out of timeout.
Oh,
You know who we should
Don't
cancel?
say
We should cancel Gucci.
Gucci. Why you say
What?
that?
Why?
Yeah. Nothing. I just wanted to see what Nathan was gonna say. I just wanted to make the man really quick.
He's just playing with him.
Well, I definitely have ammo for you right now.
He was ready.
Gucci is like kind of a crazy person to represent us, but he does a lot for the people.
He does.
around.
No.
bro, if you
Gucci
wanted to
does
get a
a lot.
reaction like that, you should have led with that instead of Beyonce, because it don't get no worse than that.
Watch your mouth.
It don't get no worse than Beyonce. For him. It's only up from there for him.
Nah, it gets worse than that, Nipsey. Nah, they're about the same level. Can't speak bad about Nipsey, can't speak bad about that.
But for two different reasons.
For what?
But for two
For
different
what?
reasons.
What can you say bad about them?
Beyonce can't
First
really
and
sing
foremost,
that well.
you
I
can't,
mean,
but you
I
can
can
always
name, like,
find a way.
more.
Because white people are very creative in finding ways to make us
I'm
look
very
bad.
creative too.
How? I'm interested.
Oh, okay. I'm not gonna say this person's name because
No,
I'm
no,
not
no.
gonna
Oh,
give.
no, you. I meant.
Oh, okay.
He said I'm very creative too. So I would.
No, if they want to go out their way and find a reason why they can say something bad about them, okay. I'm just one of those people that I knew with these. Well, I'm full head steam for these two people. So it's like
I don't think you gotta be creative to find a reason for Nipsey. It's kind of self-explanatory. His work
If I can
speaks for
say,
itself. He's
I know.
one of
I
those
was
people.
never.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
was never a fan. I was never a fan of Nipsey's braids.
what?
Of his what?
His
You said you can't find nothing bad to say about him. I said I was never a fan of his braids.
His braids.
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 That man said he's never found a fit his braids.
I don't think. It's like Dwayne Wade now. I don't. Dwayne Wade got braids. I think they ugly.
That's a fair criticism. That's a fair criticism, though. I mean, if you don't like braids, you don't like braids.
But Dwayne Wade braids look nothing like Nipsey, and Nipsey had braids since he was younger.
No, he didn't.
Now I know. I just
did.
never had when he was younger.
Yeah, but he had it's about young, like 20 or something.
I don't know what you mean. Be specific.
Dwayne Wade look like he's going through a midlife crisis.
Because he got braids.
They said if he lost like 1 or 2 braids, he would have been able to jump on that desk.
So what does Allen Iverson look like? Because he got braids.
Allen Iverson is amazing, a god in the game. Stop
I
it.
got it. So your whole point is contradictory, basically.
No, it's
Who
not.
cut?
They both
Allen
got
Iverson
braids.
eventually.
And
cut
Allen
his
Iverson is
braids.
almost 50. So
Look,
he's
Allen Iverson, he
closer to
started
50
the
than
whole
Dwayne
braid
Wade.
thing.
So
He started the whole braids.
he started the whole braids.
Yeah.
I mean, he did start the braid craze, but I mean, I would just. I think Pusha should cut his braids too.
Pusha should
Like,
retire.
It's 2019. I'm just saying, like.
Why should
Kevin,
he
I'm not
retire?
Kevin Durant's a cupcake.
That
What?
came out of nowhere.
What?
Yo, he sounded like he wanted to hate on him, but he couldn't find the window to do it. He couldn't find the window, so he had to create
He's a
one.
cupcake.
Ah,
He's a cupcake. I don't even know where near the Knicks.
Did you feel good getting that off your chest? Like
It's
out,
soft.
like you feel good.
And yes, I would say that in his face.
you can't even reach his face. You
But
talk
not
about
behind
his
closed
face.
doors. Not behind closed doors, because I need that check.
Okay, so
But anyway,
since he got that off his chest, I'm gonna just let it end there because that can get out of hand really fast. So, thanks for tuning in, y'all. It's
Oh, that's
been
it?
great. Yeah, we gotta end.
Yo, it feels like
Production is
Yeah.
on my butt.
7 o'clock
I don't
already.
know, you had all them cameras over there that whole time, ain't touched one. What you doing with them?
What you mean?
Let me get one.
It's called working.
Fact.
This is called Talk Cafe.
Not much.
Okay. Talk cafe.
I feel you.
Anywho.
Any last thoughts? Everybody get their thoughts
I
out?
want to know when the next net game is coming on.
The final net game is tomorrow, I believe.
I want to know when the
I just want to put this
The
out
final
there.
net game is tomorrow.
The final.
The final net game is tomorrow.
The final.
Nah, look. Here are my words on the Nets. First off, the Yankees won today.
Congrats, man. Congrats.
We lost another player, Aaron Judge. He'll be out for some time. That sucks.
I like him.
But as far as the Nets, you're about to see one of the greatest comebacks in NBA playoff history. And I hope you're all ready for it because it is going to be a show. It's going to be a show. It's going to be great. So, stay tuned. The final Nets game
is going to emerge,
right?
Dudley is going to emerge, right?
Oh man, Dudley's gonna come in. He's gonna drop like 30, 40 points. Like, you just wait and see. Like,
Yo, they
Dudley's
just
gonna
fined
come
him
out.
$15,000. That's a whole paycheck for him, son. I know he tell you.
That ain't no old paycheck. He definitely getting more than.
I know he pays.
That was straight to his bank account. His direct deposit.
I hope his team's picked up the check.
Here's the
for
thing.
him.
You know what? I'm gonna be truthful and honest for a second because I love my Nets and I'm gonna ride or die until the final buzzer. All right. I will say we're gonna win even if we're down by 20 with 10 seconds left. That's how hard of a fan I am. But if I'm being realistic.
No, you're not.
We don't. Listen.
You're being as realistic right now as Nathan is with Beyonce. But go ahead, continue.
Listen. Well, no. If I'm being realistic, we're not in a good spot. We dropped the games 2 and 3 because of just like I want to say lack of playoff experience. Game 2. They scored 51 in the third quarter. That can never happen on a regular season.
Who scored 52?
The Philly. They scored 51 game 2 third quarter.
They did.
And that's the game that they blew us out. And then yesterday's game, I think that it was a good game. I'm excited to sort of see where this Nets team goes. Do I think we're really going to win the championship this year? Of course not. But at the end of the day,
he tried to gloss over that.
That's not what he was saying. But he said we gonna win the chip.
We should have clipped that.
Let me finish. Look. Do I think we're gonna win the championship? No. But I ride or die, even if we're in the last second, on the last buzzer, I will talk my talk.
As you should.
All right.
As you should. But as long as you know it's just that, it's just talk.
First round.
What I'm
exit.
really interested in is this new sort of animosity though between Philly and Brooklyn, and I want to see how that carries over.
Just like that man flew up that jet ski. That's the next season going off.
I think it's gonna be a good series. I think it's gonna be a good playoffs, but I ain't gonna lie, they're giving us a good series, and that's so.
It's the best series. It's the best series
it's not
on
the best
TV
series.
right now.
What's the best series, bro?
What's the best series?
That Portland and OKC series.
No, that Portland and OKC series. No. Here, don't get me wrong. Those are two good teams, but that Portland and OKC series ain't giving you the kind of fireworks this series is.
Yes, it is.
It's not.
That Wade and Westbrook matchup is better than any matchup in the playoffs.
I'm talking far beyond matchups.
Look, this is my views on this. Look, follow me on Nate Hustle. I got to go. Holla at y'all next time.
Wait! Don't leave the job. We just gonna end it while everybody here. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm eating. I was waiting for y'all.
I got to go bring home the bacon.
But he gotta head to his
Jay-Z
his money maker. And tune in next week, y'all. It's gonna be a good show. We got a lot of YouTube content coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And
follow me at Junior the Future, JUNIORDAFUTURE.
That was long.
Yep.
You can follow me.
What's yours?
Nate Hustle, the real Nate Hustle.
The real Nate Hustle. That sounds like more letters. Continue.
You can follow me at names_KAYLA. And Day, you want to shoot your...
Shout it out.
You can follow me on the street. I'll be on 42nd Street. So, yeah, you know, I'll see you guys around there.
And you want to shout yours out loud before you go?
Young Paul 07.
AKA Mr. Lil Round.
Instagram.
Sound like a homeless man trying to get his shot.
Yeah, I'll be on the brown side, said we'll work for food, but I really won't.
Oh, boy.
Oh, God, that's funny. Alright, so
Okay, hey, y'all.
We out.
We out.